Most of us dream of owning a Porsche 911. This guy rallies one, gets out there in the mud and dirt and throws it around like no one's business. But more importantly, he's actually just built a new one that's cost 10 squillion quid, which he hasn't run here today. It's just lacking a couple of performance bits apparently, but he will debut in a couple of rallies' time. Jeff David, ladies and gentlemen, who's running the 911 Porsche in the classic category.
Thank you.
Jeff, similar sort of thing. You've got a two-wheel drive car out there in very slippery conditions, and yours is a Porsche with the engine hanging out over the back like a big pendulum. Must be treacherous out there.
Look, for us, we're getting a lot of drive off the corners. So luckily, with the engine on the back and quite soft suspension, we get a lot of drive. And so for me, it's about setting it up before the corner, getting a lot of sideways in, and then trying to be as straight as possible and getting on the power and getting out as fast as we can, and then just following Jack's lines.
He's cutting some good lines.
Oh, you know, there's one or two there, especially out on the racetrack. You know, he's cut a couple of corners across the grass. But no, it's quite fun. I mean, everyone always says Porsches have quite a reputation for, going snap sideways on you. And if anyone's driven one, you know, that's always the big fear. But we run it quite soft. We don't run sway bars, so the car actually gets a lot of lean angle, and that gives it a lot of lateral grip. And so like Jack, I use a left foot brake to try and settle the car on the suspension, try and get all my sideways done before the start of the corners, and then drive it through on the throttle as much as we can.
This classic category is just drawing an enormous amount of attention. You know, they're old cars, but obviously a lot of new technology underneath. It must be fantastic for someone like you who followed rallying for so long and was involved in business, so you didn't have the time to go rallying, but now to get into a car like this, have a great time and be battling a bunch of guys in similar sort of cars.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, my history is I grew up racing motocross as a kid, and then I rallied a bit when I was in my early 20s, but then I crashed the car and I couldn't afford it again. So I spent 15 years out of the sport and wanting to come back in. And when I decided to come back, I said, well, I'm now on the wrong side of 40, so I'd come back with a classic car and try and have a bit of fun. You know, while we are competitive and we like to battle it out because that's part of the sport, it's actually about helping each other and enjoying the camaraderie and, you know, really just trying to see what we can do together and put on a show for the spectators.
That Neil Bates in that Toyota Celica, he's being indecently quick this weekend. What are you going to do about him when you get to the next couple of rallies in the forests?
Well, you know, Neil was always going to force us to step up this year. You know, 4-time Australian Rally Champion. He is an unbelievable driver. He's also a professional driver. That's all he's done for his career. So the fact that we can match him out here on the gravel stages, we're quite happy about that. We can't get within cooey with him on the tarmac, but then, you know, Neil was in line for a V8 supercar drive, so he knows what he's doing on the tarmac, whereas I've never driven on the tarmac before this rally, except, you know, my daily driver, which, you know, I try to keep my licence.
Well, I hope you're enjoying yourself. You're certainly turning it on for the crowds, and they're loving it in the classic section of the Bosch ARC and the Porsche 911. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff David.